Hello everyone, I'm Bob Kaiser. Welcome back to the Son of Man, Urantia project. Today we continue with Chapter 19, Part 4, the Ordination of the 12. My personal commentary on this section is at the end. An overview. The 12 have now officially been set aside as apostles. This week they begin their practical training, teaching the crowds, gaining confidence, and then Jesus takes Peter, James, and John out on the lake for a private 4-hour master class. You're about to hear some of the clearest and most practical kingdom teachings in the entire record. How to trust the Father, non-resistance, politics, social attitudes, family life, and the real difference between being a disciple and an apostle. This is rich, intimate material straight from the Master. So grab your copy of Son of Man Urantia, get comfortable, and then let's join Jesus and the three on the water. The week following the ordination. After everyone had eaten a late breakfast, Jesus said, "Now you must begin your work preaching the glad tidings and instructing believers. Make ready to go to Jerusalem." Thomas mustered up his courage and said, "I know, Master, that we should now be ready to enter on the work, but I fear we are not yet able to accomplish this grand undertaking. Would you consent for us to stay around here for just a few more days before we begin the work of the kingdom?" When Jesus saw that all of his apostles were scared, he said, "It will be as you have asked. We will remain here over the Sabbath day." For weeks, devout seekers and inquisitive visitors had flocked to Bethsaida to see Jesus. Already word of him had spread over the countryside. Inquiring groups had come from cities as far away as Tyre, Sidon, Damascus, Caesarea, and Jerusalem. Up until this point, Jesus had personally greeted these people and taught them concerning the kingdom. But now, Jesus entrusted this ministry to the 12. Andrew would select one of the apostles and assign him to a group of visitors. And sometimes, all 12 of them were so engaged. For 2 days they worked, teaching by day and holding private conferences late into the night. On the third day, Jesus visited with Zebedee and Salome while he sent his apostles off to fish, rest, or reconnect with their families. On Thursday, they all returned for 3 more days of teaching. During this week of rehearsing, Jesus many times repeated to his apostles the 2 critical reasons for his post-baptismal mission on earth: to reveal the Father to humanity and to lead humanity to become son-conscious, to faith realize that they are the children of the Most High. 1 week of this varied experience did much to boost the 12's confidence. Some of them even became overconfident. At their last conference the night after the Sabbath, Peter and James went to Jesus and said, "We are ready. Let us now go forth to take the kingdom." To which Jesus replied, "May your wisdom equal your zeal, and your courage atone for your ignorance." Though the apostles failed to comprehend much of his teaching, they did not fail to grasp the significance of the magnificent life Jesus lived with them. Thursday afternoon on the lake. Jesus knew that his apostles could not yet fully comprehend his divine teachings. He decided to give some special instruction to John, James, and Peter, hoping that they could then clarify things for the others. The apostles were still linking the new spiritual truths they understood to their old literal and entrenched ideas of the kingdom being the restoration of David's throne and the reestablishment of Israel as an earthly power. On Thursday afternoon, Jesus went out in a boat with John, James, and Peter. They had a 4-hour conference covering scores of questions. What follows is a brief account of this transformative afternoon, as Simon Peter recounted to his brother Andrew the next morning. Doing the Father's will. Jesus taught to trust in the care of the Heavenly Father. This was not a blind and passive fatalism. He quoted an old Hebrew proverb saying, "He who will not work will not eat." And he pointed to his own experience to back up his lesson. Jesus' instructions about trusting the Father must not be judged by the social or economic conditions of modern times or any other age. His instructions embraced the ideal principle of abiding in divine communion with God in all ages and on all worlds. Jesus had illuminated the differences between apostleship and discipleship. He did not preach against prudence and forethought, but rather against worry and anxiety. He taught the vigilant and heartfelt surrender to God's will. In answer to many of their questions about frugality and thriftiness, Jesus simply called attention to his life as a carpenter, boat builder, and fisherman, along with his careful organization of the 12. He tried to make it clear that the world is not an enemy and that life's circumstances are a divine provision guiding the children of God. Now a quick word from the heart. If these words are stirring something deep inside of you, if you feel the Master calling you to a higher way of living, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment about which part touched you most. Your thoughts help others find this light. And remember, peace on earth truly does begin with us. One merciful choice, one loving act at a time. Now back to the story. The apostles found it challenging to embrace Jesus' personal practice of non-resistance. He absolutely refused to defend himself, and it appeared to the apostles that he would be pleased if they would follow the same policy. He taught them not to resist evil or to combat injury or injustice. But Jesus did not teach passive tolerance of wrongdoing. He made it plain this afternoon that he endorsed society's role in addressing wrongdoing, and that civil governments must sometimes employ force when executing justice or maintaining the social order. Jesus never ceased to warn his disciples against the evil practice of retaliation. He gave no allowance for revenge. He deplored holding grudges. He banned the idea of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. He disapproved of private and personal revenge, giving these matters over to civil government on the one hand and to God's judgment on the other. Jesus emphasized to the three that his teachings applied to the individual, not the state. He summarized his instructions up to that time as first, love your enemies, uphold the sacred bonds of human brotherhood. Second, the pointlessness of evil. A wrong is not corrected by vengeance. Do not make the mistake of fighting evil with its own weapons. And third, have faith, confidence in the eventual triumph of divine justice and eternal goodness. Political attitude. Jesus cautioned his apostles to exercise care regarding the strained relations between the Jewish people and the Roman government. He forbade them to participate in these difficulties in any way. He was always careful to avoid the political traps of his enemies, saying, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." Jesus refused to have his attention diverted from his mission of establishing a new way of salvation. He would not permit himself to be concerned about anything else. In his personal life, he obeyed all civil laws and regulations. In all of his public sermons, he ignored the civic, social, and economic realms. He told the 3 apostles that he was only concerned with the eternal spiritual growth of each soul. Jesus was not a political reformer. He did not come to reshape earthly governments, and even if he had done this, it would have only applied to that day and generation. Regardless, he did show humanity the divine pattern of living, and no generation is exempt from having to learn how to adapt Jesus' life to its own problems. But never make the mistake of equating Jesus' teachings with any political or economic theory, or with any social or industrial system. Social attitude. The Jewish rabbis had long debated the question, who is my neighbor? Jesus came presenting the idea of active and spontaneous kindness, a love of other people so genuine that it expanded the neighborhood to include the whole world, thus uniting all humanity as neighbors. But still, Jesus was focused solely on each person's spiritual journey. Jesus was not a sociologist, but he did work to dissolve barriers of self-centered isolation. He taught pure sympathy and pure compassion. Michael of Nebadon is a mercy-dominated son, and compassion is his nature. Jesus did not say that people should never invite their friends over for dinner, but he did say that his followers should minister to the needy and afflicted. Jesus had a steadfast commitment to justice, but it was always tempered with mercy. He did not teach his apostles that they had to give money to social parasites or professional beggars. The nearest he came to making a sociological pronouncement was to say, "Judge not, so that you will not be judged." Jesus was clear that unwise generosity may foster social imbalances. The next day, Jesus was firm when he told Judas that none of their money was to be given out as alms, except on his request or on the joint petition of 2 of the apostles. In matters like this, Jesus always said, "Be as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves." In all situations, Jesus taught patience, tolerance, and forgiveness. The family was the cornerstone of Jesus' teachings on life, here and hereafter. He based his teachings about God on the family, while he sought to correct the Jewish tendency to over-honor their ancestors. He placed family life as the highest human duty, but he also made it plain that family must not interfere with religious obligations. Jesus pointed out that the family is a temporal institution, that it does not survive death. Jesus did not hesitate to give up his family when it ran counter to the Father's will. He taught the new and larger brotherhood of humanity, the sons of God. In Jesus' time, divorce was lax in Palestine and throughout the Roman Empire. And while Jesus repeatedly refused to lay down laws regarding divorce and marriage, many of his followers had strong opinions on the subjects, and they did not hesitate to say that they heard them from Jesus. All of the New Testament writers held to these more stringent and advanced ideas about divorce, except John Mark. Okay, everyone, that's it for part 4 of chapter 19. Now some personal comments. When Jesus was baptized by John in the Jordan River, he completed the requirements for sovereignty over Nebadon, his universe, and he could have left Earth at that point or any other time in any manner of his choosing. But instead, he made the decision to remain with us for two reasons. First, to reveal the Father to humanity. In other words, it was those who saw Jesus who saw the Father. His life, his presence among us, was his gospel, not his words or his teachings or any accounts of him that have been written afterward. And second, through displaying the fruits of the Spirit to us in his life, he opened the way for us to become son-conscious, for us to realize that we are each fully a son of God, that the relationship between us, our unique developing personality, and the Spirit of the Father in our minds, known as a thought adjuster, is personal, and that no person or being can ever intervene between the two. That communion between a person and their thought adjuster, between the individual and God the Father, is the essence of true religion, as opposed to the many social religions on earth, all of which are more groups of people who wish to believe the same way, which is fine as long as it's realized that none hold divine favor over the others. Hence, there is no question of who is my neighbor. While the relationship between the individual and the Father is unique and personal, the fact that we all have the same Father means we are all members of the same family. Everything subsequent to that fact that arises to isolate and separate humanity into its various social, political, and religious groups is our doing, has nothing to do with God, and degrades the idea of the brotherhood of humanity. This is not to say that all ways of belief represent the true nature of God to the same degree. And those misunderstandings about the nature of God, which is absolute love, mercy, and forgiveness, are the reason for much of the horror on earth. In other words, the level to which a belief system embodies the love, mercy, and forgiveness of the Father indicates its level of correctness and ability to enhance the overall brotherhood of humanity. All right, that's enough of me. Up next is Part 5, Chapter 19, the Ordination of the 12. Coming soon to the playlist. If this is blessing you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might resonate with the Master's message. And don't forget the book, Son of Man, Urantia, The Life and Teachings of Jesus from the Urantia book, is available on Amazon in both English and Spanish. Now, let's all get out there and use love, mercy, and forgiveness to foster a little more truth, beauty, and goodness in our own corners of the world. Godspeed, everyone. Bobby Keiser, out here.